I'm going to be offering 10 qualities that I've been wrestling with. And there's never just 10, but I'm going to give you a beginning of what I think an adult initiated man should and could look like. Okay? So the first quality, number one, is the initiated man, unlike the uninitiated wounded boy man, has what we call an expanded identity. I want you to imagine, if you would, there's a threshold between the wounded boy man over here, and this threshold divides the wounded boy man from the adult initiated man. The wounded boy man asks questions like, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? And he's obsessed with himself because, remember, he's self-referenced, he's self-focused. Everything's about him. He has a very singular consciousness. As he begins to wrestle, hopefully, with sacred elders at this threshold, because in all indigenous cultures there's a formal sacred initiation that happens around 14. We don't have that, so as a counselor I stay employed because men that are between 35 and 55 come in when things start falling apart. So we're a little delayed in our culture, but that's just the way it is. Men don't really start to grow up and take full responsibility for their lives and have a sacred relationship until they're more midlife. And as Ram Dass says, the fender falls off the Ford. Things start falling off. You start getting divorced, you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose your mind. And these are all my favorite people now that are in my groups. So expansion of identity means that the wounded boy man, his life starts falling apart and he wrestles at this threshold. And he starts to discover, through being thrown to the ground, he starts to develop humility and even a little gratitude. I'd say those are two of the qualities that are most dominant that I see in an initiated man, is humility and gratitude. He also begins to develop what we call the 5 interweaving selves. The 5 interweaving selves are, I'll explain it to you. We come to earth, an individual soul, and we are then sheltered, protected, and blessed by a family soul. The family soul is protected and blessed by the village soul. The village soul is protected and blessed by the natural world soul, and then the cosmic soul. So we actually come to earth with 5 interweaving souls. And what do we have in America? We get very, very into our rugged individualism, and so we have this individual soul that gets quite encrusted, and we forget about the other 4. We actually have 4 other interweaving souls. That is our birthright, and we forget that. But as a man starts to go through this, what St. John of the Cross called dark night of the soul, some people call an ordeal. It's not just depression, it's an ordeal at midlife, isn't it? Can we get a few nods here? Anybody been through one? Yeah. Some of us are still in it. Some of us dragged ourselves here today because we're still in it, right? It's tough. Difference between depression and a dark night of the soul or an ordeal is you don't choose an ordeal or a dark night of the soul. It chooses you. And it's not just depression. It's a deep rupture to the soul. So this boy man, when he begins to wrestle at this threshold and he actually is lucky enough to make it through, his questions change from am I good enough to how are the salmon? How are the children? How are the elders? How are the rivers? How are the mountains? How are the clouds? He becomes relational in a sacred way to all living things. On this side of the threshold, it's all about me. Am I cool? Am I good enough? Am I handsome enough? It's all about me. And this all starts to burn up, but there must be, for men to really become adults in a full-bodied way, they have to go through this ordeal, okay? So the first one is identity expands. That's the first quality.